Very welcome to a little talk about the new role of the arts. Whether it's new or not, we will see. And thank you very much, everyone joining us. It's Christina, Malenka, and Yuri. It's great that you're here. So, just to introduce everyone here on stage, Christina Nan is the founder and director of an association in Heidelberg, which is entitled Kulturtandem, which means culture tandem. And she's bringing artists from different areas of the world, let's say, and also different art forms together, and produces them in Heidelberg and in the region. We're also working together with the festival. And Malenka is a musician from Ukraine, but living in Leipzig, in Germany. And she played yesterday at the first day of the Reconnecting Europe weekend with her partner Moloch, who had to leave earlier. And I hope I pronounced the names in the right way. Melanka. So it's Melanka. Thanks for being here and for staying here as you played yesterday. And you have a very busy schedule, but we will learn about that more later. And Yuri, on the other side of this panel, Yuri Goshi is a friend for many, many years. He's also from Ukraine, from Kharkiv, and living in Berlin. And we're working on different issues together, as Yuri is also Jewish. He published a book with interviews with German Jewish musicians. And he's a DJ and a musician too, and he's the founder of the band Rotfront and many other projects, and he's a writer also. And now he's also a columnist. He's having a column every day at Tagesspiegel, where he...
Every second day, but still never, never written so much.
Okay, but you're working on it every day. Maybe that's why I said every day.
This is accurate, I guess.
So, yeah, and we thought, when we were scheduling this Reconnecting Europe weekend, the idea was to reconnect all of us after it's possible, after the 2 years of pandemic, because we thought that interesting paradox was that it was a global crisis, but it cut off the international dimension. And now we have another crisis, although the pandemic is not over yet. We have another crisis that is also dividing and cutting off connections and international connections. And as we're all representing the field of arts, we thought it's interesting to talk about the new role of arts, as there are a lot of requests. And Malenka and Yuri, you can report of that, because every day, I guess, because you are both from Ukraine, you have requests, and you are now recognized also. I don't know how it was. Maybe Malenka, you can say, did your life, of course, I mean, because of the war it changed, but the requests you're having as an artist, did they change, or is it just only the amount of requests?
It's actually both. So first of all, obviously the amount changed tremendously. And second of all, which is the right thing that we were able to do, was to give beneficial concerts. What honestly surprised me the most, because to clarify, I was born in Germany. My parents come both from Lviv, from Western Ukraine. I was brought up with the first language as Ukrainian, very invested in the Ukrainian culture. I still have family there, friends. But I think what was the moment that was the weirdest to me was that I suddenly became like an expert on Ukrainian politics, or in general on how do you say, international politics. I'm a musician. I'm not an expert in international politics. I obviously have an opinion, and I obviously have something to say. And I said to Yuri, because we haven't seen for a long time, I said I very often don't feel like it's my place to speak. It's my place to say something, because I'm not a refugee. I'm not in the situation right now. I'm not in the war. But on the other side, if I'm invited and I don't speak, I don't know who will. So it's, and I think we talked about this. It doesn't mean that I know everything about politics or anything. I'm still a musician. But just to be silent is also not possible. So that just as an introduction. So yeah, we suddenly got a lot of requests that had nothing to do with our art, let's say it like that.
I will come back to that in a second. And going to Yuri, I mean, you must experience the same, of course. I mean, we talk from time to time on the phone, and sometimes you just don't have the time to talk for a long time because your requests are so huge. You organize also, you coordinate, and as an artist, of course, you're more seen as a Ukrainian than an artist. Is that right, or is it? Do you feel like that?
I think it's quite accurate what you say, and I'm doing more coordination and management in the broad sense of the word than I ever did. In fact, at this very moment, there is a concert I organized taking place in Berlin without me. I haven't organized a concert for someone but me in decades, I think, but I had to this time because there was no one who could do this, and it's a fundraiser for the territorial defense of my hometown, so it feels kind of personal. I know people who fight there. I know a lot of people who are in Kharkiv at the moment, dear friends of mine. Some people I've known since my 17th year, and and a lot of like small stuff, but we also it's funny that we are here together because some weeks ago we started a group on the Facebook for Ukrainian musicians in Germany because it felt like a right thing to do, because there's more and more musicians coming, and it should be a place where they can connect, and so it was about that. It's not much of an effort and not a fantastic concept, but just something. But we see people arrive more and more, people find it, and there's I think more than 250 people there, and sometimes, this is also moments when you realize how many, because you see them on the streets, sometimes you hear the language, you see the numbers, but it's so abstract until the moment, sometimes it just hits you. It's like someone's looking for a violin player in Hamburg, and then suddenly 15 people reply, and then you think, wow, and these 15 people just arrived, So
is the main aim of this Facebook group or network that you can help to find jobs?
Well, I think that's the ideal case, but I think for us musicians it's really important to be connected, not only because I've been asked for recommendations from many friends of mine who put together shows all around the country at the moment, and I know a lot of people who came, so it's about connecting now, and yes, so I think, but also someone who's in a village close to Munich looking for a guitar because they couldn't take their guitars with them, and we in this kind of group, it's an ideal place to find because someone else has a guitar and is in Munich too, and 10 minutes later, this happened a couple of times, and this is fantastic.
Yeah, so as you mentioned the word connecting and connection very often. Christina is a connector, we can say, as she founded this association, Kulturtandem, to connect different...
I'll invite you to our group.
Yeah, it's a good
Let's
idea.
Connect.
And no, Christina, because you're connecting different cultures, different art forms, and mostly out of a crisis. Although there's always a crisis, of course. But what is your experience? Did that change now over time? Because the headline of this panel is the new role of arts. Did it change? So is the request more away from the art itself, but the art as providing for something, or is it over time? Is it still stay the same?
It's changed because I started also to think about how can I help. We had also the concert with Katarina Siabluk from Ukraine, and as the war began, I asked her, what can I do? How can I help? And because I wanted to do something, and the first thing was, let's do a benefits concert together, and we did it together with Enjoy Jazz and Karl Stobanhoff, and after that, also trying to help with any art of helpful information for the artists from Ukraine, but I think in my mind changed something important, because till now I tried to bring artists from different countries together. I'm coming from Romania, so it was also the whole time also my wish to bring to Germany also artists from Romania to make them known here, so much, and through their meetings and coming together, making music, making for them possible to connect each other. But now it's more important for me to find together with the artists the right wordings and the right messages, so that we can make together a kind of platform for the people with important themes with which the people can identify, and so trying to integrate the everything is important now and relevant as crisis. So this is the change it happens for me.
So, and as you both said that the amount of requests, but also the type of requests has changed now during the war. What do you think, as you are a musician, Malenka, at the first place, do you think it's, or do you feel misused or wrongly used, or is it for you just, no, that's the situation, of course I do that? Or how do you feel that your art is sometimes not in the center?
Wow, that's a very multifaceted question, but let me try from the other side. I do not feel misused at all. I rather struggle, and I talked to some of my colleagues about this, that some of us feel afraid that it might seem like we are taking use of the war to be pushed in or like to become more successful, to push our career, because now obviously we're getting all of these requests, we're getting all of the exposure. So it was more, especially in the beginning, a fear of mine, and some of my colleagues, most of my colleagues from Ukraine, or that live actually in the diaspora, was that how does it seem if we go on stage and we get paid for our work, we get all of these requests, we get all of these opportunities and chances that we wouldn't get without the war. So are we taking advantage of it, or is it our responsibility to go on stage and show up and speak about this? I do not feel misused at all, unless it's a misusing concept, which I am just not taking part in. I became very, very clear about for whom I want to sing or speak. I've been invited to incredible amounts of demonstrations, concerts, events, and some of them I just simply don't see the sense in going there. It's just being invited because, hey, you're like German Ukrainian, Ukrainian German, please come and play. Okay, but like if it's for a good thing, if it helps anything, even just talking about, because every time that I'm on stage, I am at the moment, because I make Ukrainian music. That's a thing. I've been making Ukrainian music for years now. So every time that I go on stage, I feel like I do represent, in a way, the beauty of our culture and the beauty of our language, and understanding of there is an own culture and an own language. That is Ukrainian. of course, Ukrainian is very multifaceted, but still, some people still don't understand that. Again, a few days ago, had a person asking me, what's the difference between Russian and Ukrainian? As long as this question is happening, I am happy to go on stage and talk every single time. Listen to my language. Listen how I speak, what I say. This is not Russian. And this is important, and so I'm very happy every single time that I go on stage, and I live very well at the moment with the dichotomy, or like the, how you say it, like the paradox of being on stage, taking advantage of what is happening, being a spokesperson, not being misused. It's a very small road to walk, but this is apparently what we do right now.
And just to explain why we invited you with your partner, it's because we selected, or we asked artists from cities who belong to the UNESCO Creative Cities Network in the field of music. And last year, Kharkiv was accepted as a member, and Lviv is already a member in the field of literature. And then we asked Yuri for advice. Whom would you think we should invite? And then he said you. So, and that's why we invited you. Not because you're Ukrainian because of the war, but because we were looking for someone from the UNESCO cities, and Yuri said, it's good music, invite them. So, and Yuri, many times when we spoke, you brought this example up that very often you are asked to translate, because not that many people can speak Ukrainian, of course. And then you said many times to me, I stopped being a translator a few years ago. So, which I understood, you just wanted to point out that, sorry, I'm not a translator. If you need a translator, go and engage a translator. Do you feel?
I wasn't that rude, was I?
No.
I would try to be nice.
You're not a translator, but you can translate. No, but do you feel misused? Do you feel you're no longer seen as an artist? Now, only because of the war? And what do you think about it?
I'm grateful for the opportunities I'm getting. I'm also like Milanka, I don't have a problem to turn down things, some of the offers. It's fine if I don't feel like, I'm pretty clear about what I want and what I don't want to do. And for me, it's now, I think culture and music have to react, and always reacts to what's been happening. And it's the music I'm making now. It's interesting, I've been curating a compilation of Jewish artists that contributed, I think, 29 tracks. We're putting it together tomorrow, we're releasing it tomorrow. It's a very eclectic selection of Jewish music from around the world, different music styles, and some of the people I asked for, and I said I don't really care if these tracks are already released or not. I just, it's more about having a number of different people, different styles, and to show that the Jewish artists condemn this war. And some of the people said, no, I'd rather give you my newest stuff, because since the beginning of the war I'm playing differently. And these were people who don't have anything to do with Ukraine or Ukrainian culture. That was really interesting.
Milanka, do you play different? The set I've heard yesterday evening, would that have sounded different a year ago? Of course, because you're developing always, but in general, do you play different now? Perform different?
No, I actually was, life played like this, that I started playing in a big Balkan band where we did mainly like world music, Ukrainian speaking, like Ukrainian language music, but also it was very party-like. We were having these huge Balkan parties, amazing situations. I left them actually approximately a year ago. It had nothing to do with that. It's a very different story. I just tried to change my direction. So with Moloch and Nadia, we have been playing for 3 years, then Corona came. But this is also important to understand that the music that Moloch and Nadia is making, we are like two-part two different parts that we put together, which is jazz, soul, blues, and on the other side Ukrainian folklore, but also we write our own songs. And none of it is like party-like. None of it is really something that I would be not comfortable singing at the moment. And also, it's very important to say that the full-scale war started on February 24th. But I know that, I remember, it's been 8 years now, more than 8 years, that the war started in the East Ukraine and the annexion of the Crimea. My uncle, who has passed away, sadly a few years ago, he was on the front, like he was as well, a soldier. So I remember that even back then, 7 years ago, when I was still in the Bacha gang, we wrote these songs. Like there was this song about him, like being in the war. It was heartbreaking. It was hard, and so a lot of these songs that I found in the archives, they anyways talk about death, love, nature, departing, longing for somebody, sadness, disconnection. Everything that I wrote in the past few years, it has something to do with that, because the war didn't start in like the full-scale war, the invasion, the incredible, gruesome happenings that are happening. Okay, February, but it's been going on for 8 years, so no, nothing has changed so much.
Yeah, I understand. And Christina, do you now curate in a different way, because there's, or in times of crisis, let's say?
Yes, I feel much more responsible, because for me such situations were not so near till now, and I feel now just like I can do what I can do to help and to be more aware about my role in this situation, and I would like to convince or to share it with much more people, and to but in a very responsible way. And I just realized that also the situation now in the Ukraine, and anyway also what happened for years also in Syria, it doesn't have to stop, so we have to talk about it, because we don't have to forget, and hoping to change things.
So I understand, of course, that if you're an artist and you compose, you write texts, you make artistic decisions, like the one you made, Milanka, with the skipping out of the Balkan Party thing, and you're curating decisions, and of course, your decisions, Yuri, whether you focus more on DJing or writing or Rotfront, playing at Rotfront. I understand that this is influenced by a lot of different things that surrounds you. Whether you just split off with your partner, or you got a baby, or your dog died, whatsoever. But now, when there are global things going on around you that are really so dense as a war or a pandemic, this is quite a very, very focused influence, let's say. So, and when we're looking at the culture scene, the culture field, or the culture industry the last 2 years, which was highly affected, and also try to react within the pandemic, and now with the war. I was asked in an interview, and in the pre-talk, I told you already, I was asked in an interview, Rainer, is the culture field overwhelmed with all these crises? And this question embeds that there's a request to the culture to react. What do you feel about it? That's Milanka and Yuri and Christina. This is what I hear in this question. So now you do something against the crisis, or do you feel overwhelmed by this? So that was the question of this journalist I was asked. What do you think about, is that something that is in your head? Oh, I have to do something, I have to help, I have to?
I'm really impressed by the new technical opportunities we have as musicians today to raise money and send money to people in need, and this is amazing. I feel that as an artist I can produce something that would generate funds that could be used in this war, and it really, like, I was approached by a friend of mine from Great Britain to participate in a song recording, and the idea was that we're doing a song fundraiser, and in a week we did get around €1,000, which is amazing, and this is exactly how. And no one wanted to, anything. I mean, no one who participated wanted somehow to get any profit from that. And I think this is an amazing. Or playing shows and letting people donate. This is amazing. This is what we can do as musicians, and it's really. I don't know, it feels good, and I think it's something quite simple, but it's also like the newest example. I just released a song today done in a collaboration with my Ukrainian friends. This is something which is a kind of a postscriptum to an album we did last year with Serhiy Zhadan, and the lyrics, the texts of Ukrainian poets of the 1920s. Which is a kind of, it's a pop album, pop songs with the lyrics that are 100 years old. And we discovered a poem written in the 1941 or 42 by Mykola Bazhan, one of the classics of Ukrainian literature, one of the few who were not shot. And it's very, it's kind of patriotic, very Soviet poem about Ukrainian not wanting and would never becoming a slave of the Nazis. And this lyric suddenly has totally different meaning today. I mean, it's the same, but it feels like it's been written yesterday. And there is, fortunately, a recording of Mykola Bazhan reciting this, I think, in the early 60s, because he sounds quite old. And I took this recording and I put it, I created music and used his voice and invited some of the dear friends of mine, Ukrainian poets, to participate. And we just released the song today because it's also symbolic, because we're, the May 9th was celebrated in the Soviet Union as the so-called Victory Day. And we don't know what's gonna happen next, what's Putin's plan for this day, because he's into symbolism and symbols. And, well, this is our little bomb in a different direction. And I saw comments on the social media just, half an hour before the beginning, and some people are writing, "Oh, we're just in a bomb shelter and we've been listening to this. This is really cool." And hearing that gives me strength, and I feel like I did something right.
How is it with you, Milanka? Do you feel overwhelmed in this situation with all the requests you get as an artist?
No, not at all. I don't know, we talked about it today as well, and in the beginning I didn't feel overwhelmed because I felt guilty. I don't know, I felt guilty for being in safety, for taking advantage.
And not doing enough.
For not doing enough. This was the worst feeling. Feeling like it's still not enough, even though friends came and said, "Dude, it's enough. You need to sleep. You need to do something." It still didn't feel enough, and sometimes I still ask myself, am I putting my energies in wisely? Shouldn't I do more humanitarian? Should I do less music? Should I do that? Should I do that? What will stop the war the fastest? Mm-hmm. It's always this question, and you understand then, okay, no, you're actually really doing what you're supposed to do. And I speak to a friend, she is from Ukraine, she came to Germany 8 years ago. And she sat in front of me and she said, she's an artist as well, a visual artist. And she said, dude, I don't know what's happening with me. I'm having like these attacks. And I said, you're having panic attacks probably. This is what you're having because you're so overwhelmed and you constantly feel like you're not doing enough. So this overwhelming feeling is somewhere inside, but what kept me going for the first few weeks was the feeling of guilt. What keeps me going now is the feeling of there is a community that I started to be part of, or that I started to be more part of, where I feel that it needs me, or that I need them, we need each other. And I already told Yuri that yesterday there was an audience to refugees, a girl and one young boy, maybe 17 from Mariupol. And he came to me and he was smiling and really really joyful, and he thanked me several times for singing in his language and for bringing the culture and for making his evening. And I had tears in my eyes because this was like the moment when I asked myself, why are you traveling all the way to Heidelberg? Why don't you use the time to do something else? Why this? Why that? And this is the moment where I feel, no, not overwhelmed, but just in place. And I do something that's important. And that's at least my reason to keep going. These small victories that we have, that we made somebody else's evening, that we collected some money, that we shared more of our culture.
Yeah, thank you, Milanka. And what about you, Christina? What are your feelings? Do you feel overwhelmed now when you're programming for the fall, for example, or for the summer in this situation?
I think the feelings you described, I think such feelings, I have them all also. So it's not like seeing everything apart for me, and then so this is not being overwhelmed, but it's about wishing to take this as a reality for all of us, and to make decisions for a long term, because it's our responsibility to see the things as they are. And so I'm happy about feeling like that, because I know it cannot be like before. We have to change something in our mentality and in our feeling responsible for what we are doing. If it's not only about war, it's also about our planet. It's also about it's about togetherness. This is something very important for me. So we don't have to be alone in this situation and for the future.
Yeah, thank you, Christina. And as Milanka has to go to the train soon, and thank you so much for taking your time being here. Let's have the last round. Everyone, what's next for you artistically? Yuri.
Well, the next goal is the release of this compilation, which I'm extremely proud of. Some of the people I've been a fan of for decades suggested, gave their tracks and contributed beautiful pieces of music. And as someone who put together 10 compilations, I think it's one of the best I did so far. And it's also, the goal is also to raise money, and I think we have a good chance with this selection of artists. I'm about to start researching into the field of Jewish Ukrainian music, which is somehow representing my current interest, but not only current. This is something I've been digging, but usually it's been like a parallel digging, and now I'm gonna dig in the middle, and we'll looking for differences, similarities, and parallels. It's interesting, and it's something I'm about. Like, there is a new project I'm just starting. So we're having our first show in June, I think, and I still don't know. I haven't got a single track yet. Yeah. So the question is what it's going to be.
Thank you.
And many other things too, but this is just two things that kind of look important today.
Thanks, Yuri. And Milanka, you told me earlier this afternoon that you have like 6 things going on at the same time. So what's next for you artistically?
Artistically, it's a lot. I'm trying to wrap my head around the fact that I don't have 48 hours a day. This year we really wanted to release an album a release from Moloch and Nadia, our first one, the debut one. I am also working on some production of Ukrainian traditionals, because this is like, I didn't even say it in the beginning, and like my main field is Ukrainian traditional music actually. So there is a solo thing going on where I'm producing and rearranging Ukrainian folklore in the home studio, mixing and mastering and releasing everything by myself, because why not? I don't know how that happened. And the other one, which is very, very important for me right now, it has also been granted a grant and a funding from the Saxonian Cultural Association, is going to be a music theater with Ukrainian traditional music as the main like, let's say, thread about, in the broadest sense, about the war. We are still working on everything, but it's supposed to come out in autumn or summer autumn, because the thought about it was actually that we want to make a piece of art that we can travel with, also taking into the team people that came, musicians, refugees that came here, and other artists that want to join this big, like, this production. Because, and this is where I end, because we know that the attention was very much on Ukraine the past 2 months. When we are finished with this production, we hopefully start touring with it. It will be summer, fall, and people will start to, or already start to, shift their attention away from Ukraine. So we will try to keep the momentum, in a sense, while talking about what is happening, or having these pieces that put together talk about the war and the experiences on the other side, as always showing Ukrainian culture, and not only in a concert, but in a more performative way.
Thank you, Milanka. And Christina, what's next for you artistically?
Yeah, as at first I will be, this time I plan to be in Romania on a festival, working with German and Romanian artists together on a project. And this is also an installation planned and project with electronic and also folklore, but in this way, Romanian folklore. And then I'm very happy to bring a project at Karlsruhe on autumn. It's also with Ukrainian and artists from Poland this time. So this will be a performance with music and kind of theater. But it's a very new project, so we work on it still. Yeah, these are the 2 main projects for me this year that they are very important for me. And of course, we should see what at Enjoy Desk is coming this year.
So you do a lot of projects as always, and we are working together anyway, as you just mentioned. And Milanka, I hope that you come back and perform on our stages here. We would love to follow your new projects and the ongoing projects. So hopefully we can hear more of you from you.
Thank you. I would love to, and thank you again very, very much for inviting us here and for having the opportunity to sing and speak. And thank you, Yuri, for recommendation.
and thank you for doing so, for following the invitation. And Yuri, you come back also. We planned that already, and so
I'd be happy to. Thanks for having me again.
We won't stop having you all. So sorry, bad news. So thanks again for being here and for changing your views and taking your time. And Milanka could travel back to Leipzig. And all the success for all the projects. And Yuri, you stay here. And of course, you too. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.